will take to the Tianhe-1 core module, and 3 astronauts will stay there for half a year. So the Tianzhou 3 cargo ship will bring the resupplies for
Professor Yang, I'm so sorry to have to cut you off. This is really interesting what you're telling us now, but we want to go and look at some of the live pictures of the launch.
Yes.
Or pictures of the launch. So, as we said, China sent its first shipment of cargo to the core module of its space station. The Tianzhou 2 spacecraft was launched just before 9 p.m. Beijing time. That was just over 40 minutes ago, or that was 1 p.m. GMT. Now, what this will do is to transfer propellant and supplies for support future human missions. So, let's take a look back at some of this exciting process. All right, Professor Yang, so I'm coming back to you now. So just explain to us a bit more about this Tianzhou 2 spacecraft. Now, we're hearing that people are calling it the most efficient cargo spacecraft in the world. Why is that?
Exactly. You see, the United States have the Dragon cargo ship, have the Cygnus cargo ship. The Soviet Union and Russia have the Progress cargo ship, and Europe have ATV, and Japan has HTV. All these spacecraft have their own features. The largest one is ATV, which can bring about 8 tons of resupply to the International Space Station. But we should also know that the ATV is very huge, more than 16 tons. So although our Tianzhou cargo ship is not the largest one, which is only about 13 tons, but it can provide more than 6.5 tons of resupply to the station, including the food, water, and also including the propellants. So you see, more than half of the mass of the total mass of the Tianzhou is the resupply. So it is the most efficient cargo ship comparing with the cargo ships of other countries.
All right. And Professor Yang, something I want to know about the astronauts when they're in the space station. So we're hearing that there can be 16 sunrises a day on a space station. How is this going to affect their biological clock? You know, are their schedules, obviously they're going to be different from those on Earth. So how do they handle this? What kind of training has been given to them?
Don't worry. So, according to the announcement of China Astronaut Center, they will stay in the station with a schedule of Beijing time. So that means that they will get up every morning like in the like Earth in Beijing time, and also sleep at night according to Beijing time. So they will have the same schedule as the Earth. Actually speaking, the astronauts will be very, very busy. You see, they have a lot of work to do. This time we will not only operate the station, but also, as we have discussed, we will test the technologies. So the astronauts will perform the EVA, as I have mentioned, and also they will operate the robotic arm to have all kinds of operations, such as the transposition of the robotic arm from one place to another, and also use the robotic arm to take a lot of very complex operations. And also they will, as you have mentioned, have many experiments inside the station, like the biological experiments, like the fluid mechanics experiments, and also even the growing of plants or some other things. So they will be very busy in the station, and also the food, I have mentioned, from the resupply ship will be very delicious for them. And also, I believe that like the astronauts from the International Space Station, the most enjoyable thing for them is to observe the Earth. There are windows on the Tianhe core module, so they will enjoy the beautiful sightseeing on the Earth everywhere from the window. I believe that will be the most happy time for the astronauts.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt it's going to be a very fascinating experience, one that, you know, we can only really imagine to happen. Now, we're just looking at the pictures of the launch earlier now. And there we are, waiting for the launch of the Long March 7 Y3 carrier rocket. So this was earlier, about 45 minutes ago, in 9 p.m. Beijing time, as the carrier rocket lifting off from the Tianzhou 2 cargo spacecraft. So we're seeing pictures taken by the booster camera on the rocket body. And during the ascent, different stations were monitoring the rocket relay. And And I'm not sure if you can hear the sounds there, but those are the signals and commands. And we can hear a series of normal commands that's being relayed from the different stations, monitoring stations. Now, the Tianzhou 2, as we said earlier, is a cargo spacecraft, and it's been carried by this Long March 7 carrier rocket. And that is a new generation of medium-sized carrier rockets developed for China's manned space project. And its main target orbit is low Earth orbit, which is 200 kilometers in perigee and 400 kilometers in apogee. If that makes any sense to you? The carrying capacity of the low Earth orbit is 13.5 tons, so a lot of technical details there about this rocket. And the Tianzhou 2 is headed for China's core module of the space station. It's going to be delivering supplies and materials like propellant and other things for the functioning of the space station and also for the research that will be carried out on the space station in the later stages. So what you're seeing now is the staff busy in the hall, all absolutely fascinated and enwrapped with what's going on there, anxious no doubt. So the core module of the space station, as we're seeing now, was operating at a very, very high speed. So if the Long March carrier rocket wants to send the Tianzhou 2 cargo spacecraft to the scheduled orbit and precisely dock with the Tianhe core module, this rocket, it was very important that it took off on time, otherwise there could be some problems. Technical improvements have been made to ensure the launch of the Tianzhou 2 cargo spacecraft into orbit and the docking goes successfully. According to the China Manned Space Engineering Office, the Tianhe core module, which launched into orbit on April 29th, has completed all of its tests and all the functions are normal and in good condition. So it is now just waiting for the Tianzhou 2, the cargo spacecraft, to arrive and to dock. And now you're looking at the simulation image on the right. You can see there that the booster has separated. As we heard earlier from our guest, Professor Yang, so the next stage would be to send 3 astronauts to the space station, and they'll be living there for 3 months, during which they'll be conducting a lot of different experiments, including regeneration of water, oxygen, and the like.
Yes. You see that the US and Russia use different technologies in recovering the water. This is very critical. Not only the condensation water come from the vapor from the sweat or the vapors inside the station will be recovered, but also, as I mentioned, the urine will be recovered. This we use the device called a vapor compression distillation device. With this, we can vaporize the urine with very low pressure and also with very low temperature. This can save a lot of energy, and also the urine produced can be used for producing the oxygen and hydrogen by electricity, and then the oxygen can be used for breath of the astronaut, and the oxygen and the hydrogen will also be used to get oxygen again from the carbon dioxide collected from the astronaut's breath. And also you see that the urine produced water can not only used for producing the oxygen, but also can be used for cooling and also for the drinking. So we've already mastered this technology, but still it must be confirmed by the astronaut. And also the regenerative support system, as I mentioned, is very, very important, because you know that without this system, we will need more resupply ships. If this can be successful, can be proved of the feasible for the operation of the station, we will only launch the Tianzhou cargo ship for about two cargo ships every year, or even longer. So they will save a lot of money for the operation of the station. And the launch day is very critical. You see that the basic condition for the docking is to launch the Tianzhou 2 spaceship into the same orbital plane with the Tiangong 1. This is very critical. So we use what we call the zero launch window. The accuracy
Professor Yang, sorry, just to cut you off there. Thanks so much for pitching in and explaining to us. But All right, and there we go. We just had the official announcement of the successful launch of the Tianzhou 2 spacecraft. The cargo spacecraft is headed for the core module, the Tianhe core module of China's space station.
在此，我代表西昌卫星发射中心、文昌航天发射场和文昌发射场区任务
This has been launched from the Wenchang spacecraft launch site, which is over in China's Hainan province, in China's southernmost island province.
表示衷心感谢。此次任务发射阶段工作到此结束，谢谢大家。